Okay, good morning everyone in Chazak, Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning as we are studying together Parashat Naso. Parashat Naso, of course, is a jam-packed parasha. It's famous for being the longest parasha of the year, because one of the ideas in the parasha is the offerings that were brought on opening day in the temple when the Mishkan was built. The prince of each tribe brought a korban, an inauguration offering to welcome. When someone moves to the neighborhood, you bring them a little gift. You welcome them to the community. So the Nesi'im brought a korban, and each Nasi's korban is repeated. So 12 times. So you have a lot of extra pesukim over there, and that's why it happens to be the longest parasha of the year. But one of the ideas in the parasha is the idea of the sotah. A sotah is a woman whose husband suspects that she's unfaithful. And he warns her already one time not to be with a certain man. And then she's found again later on alone with that man. They didn't see anything specific happen, but she was alone and she was already warned. This is a sotah, a lady who strays. So the Torah says that she has to come. Now she's saying, I didn't do anything, I promise. And if she admits, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, if she admits, then that's it. She admits, it's over. She admits to have done stuff, and she has to separate from her husband, but that's it, she admitted. Problem is where she doesn't admit, and she's fighting, and she's lying and saying, we don't know if she's lying, but she's arguing back. She's saying, I didn't do anything. And the Torah says that you have to then do a procedure. There's a whole masechet called masechet sotah, where basically we bring this lady in. The Torah says you bring her in, and we give her to drink from a special water that has in it some earth, and God's name is erased into it. And my brother said a joke. What if a lady can't drink? Are you allowed to give her IV for the sotah water? Do we give her the water through the IV? You're not allowed. How you know? So he said, because you're not allowed to use God's name in vain. Okay, sorry, that's the joke of the day. You can't use Hashem's name in vain. Okay, so either way, we give this lady to drink. If she's innocent, she's blessed. And the truth is, the reason we're doing this, we're not trying to expose her, we're not trying to hurt her. It's actually to give her a chance to prove her innocence to her husband. She's saying, I'm innocent, I didn't do it. The husband can't believe it, he can't look at her. He's very suspicious. He's looking at her text messages, trying to find her emails. He's looking back. He's reviewing. He's playing detective. He believes that she's unfaithful. Torah says, okay, so let's bring the water and let her prove her innocence. Of course, if she's guilty, she's going to end up dying. The Midrash even brings a fascinating story of these two sisters, B'shtei Hayot. They were twins, and one of them was unfaithful. The husband wanted her to drink the waters, so the sister quickly runs to her sister. The lady runs to her sister, and she says, I need your help. They're suspecting me. So the sister says, no problem, I'll go drink for you. I'm innocent, I'm faithful. Her husband must have been a good guy. Okay. So she goes to the temple, she drinks the water, nothing happens to her. Okay, the husband says, okay, honey, I'm sorry, I falsely accused you. She runs back home to switch with her, to swap again. And the sister says, thank you so much. And as she gives her a kiss, the waters of the sotah went into the original sister, to the first lady, and she died like that. So either way, this is the basic idea of the sotah. And the Torah says, one of the things they have to do, they have to stand the woman in front of God. Upara et rosh ha'isha. He has to uncover her hair. And he should place in her hands the meal offering of jealousies. And in the Kohen is the bitter waters that cause curse. And so they're going to begin the process. But first begins by uncovering her hair. Now you should know in the ancient times, this was a very, very big sign of disrespect. For a lady to have her hair uncovered. Today it's culturally acceptable. But back then, nobody uncovered their hair. It was not acceptable at all. A woman uncovering her hair was very, very shameful. And even today, the halakha is still that a lady should cover her hair. If she's married, Hacham Ovadia says even if she's single, when they're praying, they should cover their hair. Okay, maybe that's not universally accepted, but women today that get married, usually they cover their hair. The ones that are observant, fully observant according to full halakha, they cover their hair. But back then, everybody covered their hair. It was not a question. So to uncover a lady's hair was the ultimate sign of disrespect. It was very, very disgraceful. And you should even know, I'll give you an example just for reference. We're going to read a couple of weeks about Korach. Korach was a man who was trying to overthrow Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay? And he comes with a group of men. You can imagine what kind of low class Korach must have been to allow his jealousy to come and fight and throw a mutiny against Moshe Rabbeinu, mind you, okay? Not a regular rabbi, the greatest rabbi. He's coming and trying to overthrow the greatest rabbi. And so we know over there was the morning of, he wakes up and he brings with him the men that are going to come to Moshe Rabbeinu. And one of the men that was supposed to come was a man by the name of On ben Pelet. The pasuk in the first pasuk of the parasha, but it says, "Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi ben Datan va'Aviram ben Eliyav ve'on ben Pelet ben Reuven." So On, one of the original guys, and we find at the end that he's not nowhere to be found. And the Midrash explains that he was saved. On was saved. How was he saved? Why was he saved? His wife saved him. Look what a smart woman can do. She could save her husband. Chokhmat nashim baneta beta. A wise lady builds a home. What did she do that was so wise? She went to her husband in the morning of, as Korach's coming to gather the rally up the troops. And she says to her husband, "Where are you going today?" He says, "I'm going with Korach." "Where are you guys going?" "It's too late to go for golf. Golf, you got to leave at 6 a.m. "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going, we're going to go try to, get rid of Moshe Rabbeinu." She said, "Wow, that's a pretty tall order. You sure you want to do that? You sure you can do that?" He's like, yeah. Korach, he has a whole argument. We're ready. We got it. She said, "Okay, good luck. What's going to be if you guys win?" He says, "If we win, then Korach's going to be the leader." She said, "Okay. And if you lose?" He said, "Well, if we lose, then Moshe is the leader." "And you?" "What do you mean, and me? I'm just wondering, what happens with you? I have yet to hear what do you get out of all this? If you lose, Moshe wins, and if you win, Korach wins. And so how do you come into this story? Either way, you're a loser. You have nothing to gain from this. I don't see why you're getting your head involved. Stay out of it." He's like, "Wow, I didn't think of it like that. But what do I do? They're down the block. They're coming to pick me up. They'll be here any minute." She says, "Leave it up to me." She goes outside, and as the men come to gather and you're talking about, could you imagine what kind of wicked men you're talking about? she uncovers her hair. And the men come down the block and they see Mrs. On uncovered hair. Whoop-de-doo! Oh my God, I'll see you later. They didn't do like the peak thing, none of that. They just turned around. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We'll see you later. They didn't even engage in nothing. That's how, back then, that was how disgraceful it was to see a woman uncovered. You never did that. Impossible. So anyways, coming back over here, the sotah, you uncover her hair. And the pasuk says that it was done lifnei Hashem. But it doesn't just say lifnei Hashem. You see, a lot of times, the way the pasuk is written, you could read it different ways. You could write, I went to the store with my cousin to buy apples. Or you could say, I went to buy apples with my cousin from the store. Same sentence, same details, but the order is different. Now, maybe in English it doesn't really matter, but in the Torah it matters. And sometimes, if you write ABC, you could have written ACB. But you wrote ABC because you actually wanted to use B somehow is connected to A and to C. That's an example over here. The pasuk says, "Ve'emita kohen tishliv ne Hashem." You shall stand her in front of God. Upara et rosh ha'isha, and you should uncover her hair. So the words in front of God, it's A, B, C. The words in front of God is B. And it's written both next to A and next to C. And it's meant to be read part of A and part of C. And the Midrash says as follows. Kohen, this can be compared to a Kohen. Shenichnas bebet hakebarot. He goes into a cemetery. Usually a Kohen cannot go into a cemetery. That's one of the halachot of Tum'ah. Kohen cannot become tameh to a cemetery unless it's who? 7 relatives. Father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, wife. Also FYI, this is not a halakha that applies to women kohens. Mishnah says a female kohen could go into a cemetery. Either way, what if she's pregnant and there's a baby inside? Okay, fine, very good. What if she did an ultrasound and what if she found out it's a girl inside? Do you trust it? Right? Fine. All these interesting halakha questions. But either way, a kohen goes into a cemetery. And his servant... Now again, why is he not going in? Why is he going in? He has a burial, he has a close relative, whatever the case is. But his servant, mamtin bahutz, he's waiting outside the cemetery. Shelo yitama, he doesn't want to become tameh. He says, I'm going to be strict. Says the Midrash, Lo dayol yoker rabo. Is it appropriate that you're going to try to be more mahmir than your own master? You can't be more mahmir than your master. If your master's going in, you got to go in with him. Well, that's the same thing over here. How does that apply? Shelo yomar kohen, because the kohen may say, Ani porei rosh ha'isha. I'm going to uncover her hair. That's disgraceful. That's beneath me. No way. Now, not only that. So that's issue 1. And therefore, by the way, to answer that, the pasuk says, Lifnei Hashem. You're in front of God. God's also here. If God could view her hair uncovered, so to speak, then you could also view her uncovered. If the Kohen could go in the cemetery, then the servant could go in the cemetery. So if God's saying, let the place of my holiness be debased, then you could also be debased, don't worry. We find a similar idea, by the way, in the famous Gemara, beautiful story, with a woman, one Friday night, back then the shiurim, the rabbi gave a class Friday night in the shul. So this lady went to class. Rabbi got a little carried away. Long speech. Parashat Naso maybe, who knows. So it was a longer speech than usual. And when she got home for Kiddush, Her husband was already home ready, waiting for her. Now, it's one thing that a man waits for his wife for the wedding. We have to go to the wedding, she's getting dressed. Okay, we already learned. But that I have to wait for you when it's dinner time? No way, right? So anyways, the man blows up. He explodes on his wife. Where were you? Friday night, Shalom Bayit, Kiddush. Where were you? Class? Was this the right time to go to a class? Which is, by the way, very important lesson. No, not always is it the right time to go learn. Right? People have to know that. Person has to know. Sometimes it's not appropriate. Sometimes you're, right now Hashem doesn't want you to learn. Maybe your family's waiting for Kiddush. Your family's waiting for the Seder. Imagine a guy is in shul learning. Family's waiting for you. Your kids, they need you. Your wife just gave birth. She's very emotional. She's very alone. What are you going to class? You have to know, case by case. But not always is it the right thing to go just because you think it's, you have to know. Person has to have balance. Person has to have balance. Person has to know. Right now, my avodah is my Shalom Bayit. Kids coming home from school, the mommy's in class. The kids need to see mommy coming off the bus, not Lupe, not the maid. Even a class, for sure if she's doing, Pilates. But even a class, I'm saying. Again, case by case. But a person has to know how to use chokhmah, how to use wisdom. Always is the right thing to learn. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to have a rabbi. You have to know. Sometimes there's other factors, there's other mitzvot. Anyways, the lady over here, she's learning Torah Friday night. Was it right or wrong? I don't know. But here's the point of the story. She gets home and her husband explodes. Where are you? Anyways, how does she try to defend herself? She says, I was learning Torah. I promise I wasn't out shopping. I wasn't on Madison Avenue. I wasn't in Bloomingdale's. I wasn't out with my friends gossiping. I was learning Torah. She thought at least that would be a good excuse. The husband said, you were learning Torah? Not a good excuse. I don't care. Who are you learning with? She said, I was in Rabbi Meir's class. He goes, yeah? Well, you're not coming back in this home until you spit in Meir's face. That's what he told his wife. You could imagine now the lady, the conundrum. What's she gonna do? She's stuck. She's gotta either fight with her wife or she's gotta, embarrass the rabbi. But she doesn't know. So she leaves the house. And I'm not sure if she went to sleep by her neighbor. I don't know where she went. The next morning, this became the talk of the town. That this lady, what happened with her husband? The fight, sometimes you have to realize the neighbors are listening. One guy said, before we got married, I did all the talking. My wife did all the listening. After we got married, my wife did all the talking, and I do all the listening. And he said, and now? He said, now 15 years later, we both do all the talking and the neighbors do all the listening. Okay. So you have to be careful who's listening, and most importantly, the kids are listening, by the way. But either way, you have over here this lady, the word got around the town, everyone heard about this big fight. Rav Meir heard. Rav Meir heard about this big fight. He realized he's partly to blame. So he feels bad, so he goes over to the lady and he says, please, I have this disease. I need saliva in my eye to heal. Please. And the lady hears this. The lady can't believe her luck. What? So she's like, this is perfect. So she spits in his eye. He says, could you do it again? She does it again, the third time. He smiles, he says, my dear lady, go tell your husband that you spit in Meir's wife not once, not twice, you spit in his face several times, and go back and be with your husband. So this was the chokhmah of Rabbi Meir, that he knew how to bring shalom to two people. Anyways, the students asked Rabbi Meir, they said, Rabbi, how dare this woman spit in your face just because you let her? Because her husband has anger issues? Because he's got a hot head? Because he's got, anger management? You have to now disgrace yourself? Let him figure it out. Let him go to a therapist. Let him go to, marriage counseling. Why'd you belittle yourself? You know what Rabbi Meir said? Rabbi Meir said, if Hashem could belittle himself and his name and allow his holy name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, to be erased into the water, if God could erase his name for the sake of bringing peace to these two people, then I shouldn't erase my name. I shouldn't belittle my name. Is my name bigger than God's? That was Rabbi Meir's answer to the students. That's what the pasuk is saying over here on one level. Lifnei Hashem. Realize that this is all being done in the temple. God says, my name is also being disgraced. So you, Mr. Kohen, don't worry about uncovering your head. Don't think it's beneath you. If I could do it, you could do it. If the Kohen could go in the cemetery, then the servant can go in the cemetery. But the Midrash says one more level. Lo yomar Kohen anira poreat ha'isha. And veruho gasa alav. Additionally, what would happen? Ruho gasa alav. Ruach gasa is inflated head, ego, arrogant. Maybe his desires will take over. One of the reasons a woman covers her hair is because her hair is something very attractive. You see all these, commercials, so much attention and money is spent in hair. Photo shoots. It's their hair, right? They blow it in the wind. The hair is something very attractive about a woman. And so that attraction is meant for a husband. So the Torah is worried, secondly, that now the Kohen is going to see her hair uncovered. And maybe he's going to have thoughts, inappropriate thoughts. Lekach ne'emar lifnei Hashem. And therefore it also says lifnei Hashem. My friends, unbelievable idea over here. You see, you have a Kohen who on the one hand is saying there's no way in the world that this lady is going to uncover her hair. It's beneath me. Shame on her. Disgrace. And we have to massage the Kohen and say, don't worry, Hashem's doing it and Rav Meir's doing it and you could do it. You could do it. Don't worry. Don't let your ego. It's okay. For the sake of Shalom Bayit, belittle yourself, humble yourself. And at the very same time, the Kohen is also saying, half his mouth he's saying, asur, disgusting, shame. And the other half, he's saying, this lady, she's pretty. You can have a guy, and this is, by the way, lesson number 1, human nature, is that it's very possible for people to be simultaneously very growth-oriented and very selfish, spiritual and physical. And this is something very unique to people. Animals don't have this. Animals are physical. Angels don't have this. Angels are spiritual. But people are both. You know, the word Adam, the Midrash says, comes from the word Adama. Adama means ground. Adam also comes from the word Adame. Adame means I will resemble him, my creator. Adama v'shamayim. Right? Man is Adam, earth, Adama, and Adame. And I used to think, that it's a choice that you have in life. You have to decide, do you want to be Adam? Do you want to be Adama? Do you want to be Adama, man, earth? Do you want to be Adame, like God? But the reality is that as we get older, we realize that both are true simultaneously. We are both very physical, very earthly, very selfish sometimes, very lazy. And at the same time, we could be very spiritual. We can be very holy. A Jew is not a person, people, not just a Jew. People are not simple. They're very complicated. And we have to realize that two things can be true simultaneously. You could have a Kohen on Yom Kippur ready to give out the holiest avodah of the world. The next morning he's going into the Holy of Holies. And yet the halakha says the night before, we don't let him sleep. You know why? Because he may have a dream that's going to cause him to become impure in the middle of the night. And so you have Kohanim all night long, wake up, telling him stories and keeping him entertained, like Shavuot night. Kohen pulled an all-nighter. Why? Because he may have an impure dream. Impure dream? Guy's going into the Holy of Holies. Yeah. So, I don't see the contradiction, says the Torah. They're both true. You could go in the Holy of Holies, and you could also be very impure. A Kohen, we read, by the way, what do we read on Yom Kippur itself? The holiest day of the year. We read, don't sleep with your mother, your daughter-in-law, your grandma, an animal, two men. All these, what? This is what you're reading to me on Yom Kippur? What about, read to me, lofty, holiness, kedoshim, tell me about, what are you reading to me about bestiality? The answer is, because you're human. And if you're human, you're frail and you're weak. And even on Yom Kippur, you could fall simultaneously on this day. As you're praying the Ilah, you could be at the same time something very physical. And you could allow your ta'avah to take over, your desires. So you should never, number one, we should never feel immune. We should never feel like I'm above my environment. I won't fall there, because it's not true. You're very holy, but al tamim b'atzmecha ad yom motcha, till the day we die. Till the day we die, my friends. We have to realize we're human. We have potential to fall. It doesn't make us bad. It doesn't make us, nothing wrong with us. It's just the reality. Al ta'amin be'atzmecha ad yom motcha. And you could have a Kohen God forbid, I'm going to uncover a lady's hair. And at the very same time, he may, as he uncovers that hair, that he's a minute ago saying Chaz v'Shalom, that he's going to be attracted to it. And number two, we shouldn't be upset at ourselves when we get these negative thoughts. Sometimes we kick ourselves, what's wrong with me? Why am I so perverted? Why do I always get jealous of other people? Why am I always looking, judging? Why am I always, right? And so we catch ourselves doing things that we feel icky about after. And we have to realize that that's okay. You're Adam. You're Adama. You're not an angel. And number 3, the way we remove these thoughts is Lifnei Hashem, which is a fascinating idea. And it's an idea that we spoke about in the past. But it's basically saying, realize that you are Lifnei Hashem. And what that means is that the way you fight bad thoughts is not by trying to get rid of the bad thoughts, but it's by having good thoughts about Hashem. You know, the Shulchan Aruch says that if indecent thought occurs to a person, shift your thought to matters of Torah. If you're having bad thoughts, don't think, get out. Right? That's not the way to get rid of bad thoughts. Is come in. Think of good thoughts to come in. You know, the mind is a vacuum. If you have a bad day, if you're doing stuff in the day that you feel icky about, the way you stop doing bad things in your day is not by get out, right? It's bring in stuff into your day that are healthy and good. Create for yourself a schedule. What are you going to do today? What do you want to fill your day with? You have a day. How are you going to fill it? If you're busy, then there's no room for bad. You see, bad only enters when there's a vacuum. So, fill up the void. That's the lesson. Lifnei Hashem. And that is a beautiful lesson indeed. When our mind is occupied with, right, thinking about Torah, Chesed, how am I going to set people up? So your brain is filled with good things. Set people up for marriage, I meant. Not, right? Not set people up to hurt them. Although some may say marriage is hurting you. Okay, but either way, this is our parasha, some of the lessons of the sotah. We should all be zocheh to have tremendous harmony in the home, tremendous shalom, ish leishto, friends bringing peace to others' marriages, be'ezat Hashem. You know, summer coming up. Summer's a big time of a lot of fights. Families moving under the roof, you know, same roof. You can get a lot of shalom bayit issues. And sotah reminds us to as well make sure that we do whatever we can, like Rabbi Meir, to bring harmony in the home. Okay, we'll stop over here, everyone. Have a wonderful, blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.